Welcome back to KTN Prime. Now, tonight we confront a familiar, agonizing crisis that continues to haunt our education sector. As we speak, a wave of school unrest is sweeping across various schools in the nation. Just days ago, the country woke up to the heartbreaking tragedy at Utumishi Girls Academy in Gilgil, where a dormitory fire claimed the lives of 16 innocent schoolgirls. Today alone, Alliance High School was forced to send students home following a mattress store fire, joining a growing list of institutions like Loreto High School, Limuru, Lenana School, and Tarakwa High School that have been affected by student unrest in the second term of 2026. While the Basic Education PS Julius Bitok has firmly ruled out an early midterm break, the fundamental question remains, are we merely reacting to the smoke, or are we intentional about putting out the fire at its source? Joining me in studio to interrogate what is truly fueling the crisis and, more importantly, how we can restore long-term stability to our schools is Dr. Emmanuel Manyasa. He's the Executive Director of Usawa Agenda. Dr. Manyasa, welcome to KTN Prime.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for making time at a critical time for Kenya's education sector. I've laid the foundation of what exactly is going on. So let's start by interrogating the root causes of this wave of school unrest. Why does unrest peak in the second term of the academic year? Does it all boil down to academic pressures due to exams? Does it boil down to a communication gap between administrators and the learners in institutions? Or it's all to do with infrastructural pressure, overcrowding, hence unrest by the students?
Thank you, Jesse, for first having me here and for this decision to analyze this situation. I think that this is not a new situation. We all know that. We have seen these fires before, and there are very many reasons that can explain it. Mm-hmm. But I want to summarize this as a culture of impunity in Kenya. Basically, that is what it is. So there is impunity among some small groups of learners who know that nothing will be done to them even if they banned schools, and they're banning schools. Yeah, because I don't want us to brand these children. When a school bans, a school like Alliance with a few thousand learners, the people banning the school are maybe 5 or 10. So it's actually not fair to say students of Alliance High School, students of Loreto girls have rioted. It's a small group most of the time. So there is impunity. They know they will do it and nothing will happen to them because those who did it before them, nothing was done to them. We've had fires over and over and no one has been made to answer for those fires. So there's impunity among some learners. There's impunity among some managers of schools, some principals, who are doing everything possible to make the lives of learners in those schools very difficult. They're chasing mean scores of grade A. So children are made to sleep at 11, woken up at 5 or 4 in the morning, Monday to Monday, to study so the school can get a very nice mean score. Mm-hmm. What is the value of this mean score to the learners? If you asked, nothing. The value is to the principal who wants to market the school as very highly performing, even if unorthodox methods that are harmful to the health and well-being of the learners are being used. So that exacts another pressure. And it's impunity because they are doing that against the school, the Ministry of Education policy on time for lessons and all that. Okay. There is impunity from members of the communities around, some of whom incite the violence that we see in schools, because we know that some of the fires are actually imported into the schools. They don't emanate from the school. So that is another reason. There is impunity among some of these people because they know they have in the past infringed on the safety of the school and the learners, and they got away with it. There is impunity at that level. There is impunity at the level of government, I should say, because the government pushed schools into admitting learners more than they can accommodate. Mm-hmm. They have caused learners to be congested. I was on national TV, I think in 2025, and I said, what we have seen in the dormitories around the country in our schools, they're just death traps. They're waiting for someone to shout at night fire, and children will trample each other to death. And sadly, this has happened. And it is not the first time it is happening. It has happened before.
Time and time
so
again.
there is impunity to that. Okay. There is impunity when you see that guidelines on spacing in dormitories and even construction of those dormitories are not being followed when they're there.
Let's speak about these guidelines, because what has it? There's a compliance deficit, and that's why the Ministry of Education has occasioned an ongoing nationwide inspection of schools to review the safety measures. Now, there's a safety standards manual that dictates the architecture of schools, from the outward opening doors, window specifications, and whatnot. Yet, years after disasters like what you've mentioned, case in point, Hillside and the Russia fire tragedy, we are seeing similar loopholes come up again, even at Tutumishi Girls. Why is enforcement failing so catastrophically on the ground that we seem to be reacting rather than preventing?
A lot of times, because we have convoluted how our education system is actually run, there is so much say from politicians. So a member of parliament is building a dormitory in a school. They get it approved without meeting the specifications in the guidelines. Right now, if you went across the country, you find dormitories under construction that do not comply with the guidelines that provide that, for instance, every dormitory must have 3 doors, 2 doors on either side, each of which must be at least 5 feet wide, and an emergency door. If you went across the country today, you find dormitories under construction and recently constructed dormitories that don't meet that guideline. They were approved by the ministry, they were supervised and approved by Ministry of Public Works. How were they in the first place approved? Because we have denied the principle, the final say on what happens. The politician brings the money, the politician brings the contractor, dictates what happens, they get the approvals however they know it, and a structure is put there. So children must fit in.
But tell me this, how do we move, because prevention is better than cure, how do we move towards a system where this sub-county quality assurance officers and the school boards face direct legal consequences before a fire incident occurs? Because that's quite rare.
Because in policy, the quality assurance officers are supposed to visit schools, and they're supposed to ensure that schools meet the requirements of safety, requirements of quality learning that is expected to be delivered in that school, quality teaching that needs to be happening in the school. They are not facilitated to visit these schools. If you go through the ministry budgets and you check how much is allocated to their travel to visit the schools, you find there is no money. If it is allocated, it is never disbursed. So because they don't have these funds, then they end up not visiting the schools. We should also not rule out that they are Kenyans, so some of them are also corrupt. So they will visit the school, they will find non-compliance, they will be told, tutakupea macho, just look the other side. And this culture of impunity and not doing the right thing, even when you know what the right thing is what is costing us. But also, there is an entire subculture of violence in the country, that everyone thinks you can resolve every problem with violence. And because we are showing the young people what we do, they are doing what we do. And we seem to want to brand them and their generation, yet we are leading by showing them that.
So let's explore actionable solutions in the short and long term. I'm pretty sure you've come across some of the proposals that have been fronted by stakeholders and leaders across the country. One of them being scrapping boarding schools in the country. Some members of parliament are pushing for that proposal. Briefly, your thoughts on that?
So one of the things that disturbed me a lot is every Kenyan or many Kenyans, trying to offer solutions to problems they have no capacity to comprehend. Yeah. So simplistic solutions to a complex problem is why we are here, because we have offered those solutions over and over. Yeah. Boarding schools exist because there is a reason. And boarding schools are going to be here. I'd like people to clear their minds of the cobwebs of we will abolish boarding schools. Boarding schools are here and they will be here. And boarding schools are not the problem. The issue of children's safety is now a major problem. We have children being abducted on the way to school and on the way from school, being raped and killed. Yeah? I think we need to think about the issue of children's safety much more broadly and with clear mind rather than this emotional boarding school banned, so let's close the boarding school. So when children get abducted on their ways home, what do we do to the path that they were following?
Interesting. So how best to address peer pressure, anxiety among students before they mutate into arson? Can schools perhaps strengthen their psychosocial support systems? Do they have the capacity to do that, or the finances? How do we ensure that students who have grievances, those grievances are resolved through engagement and not violence, as you mentioned?
So several things need to be done at the school level. And one of those is not within the control of the school because they need enough teachers to be able to pay attention to what the learners are going through, what they're experiencing, and be able to talk to them. That is beyond the school, is with government and the Teacher Service Commission. They need to staff schools enough. Once that has been done, the school leaders need to be leaders, need to take time to understand what their students are going through, be able to guide them and support them. That done, we need to give parents an important role in the school. What we have done, especially with boarding schools, and that's why maybe they're the ones that burn most, is that a parent brings a child to a boarding school and that child is like dropped into some black hole from where no one knows what happens to that child until the day they come out of there. Parents are not allowed to visit whenever they are able to. They are told, you come here only on our invitation. Otherwise, you cannot visit the child, even though this is your child. When they visit the school, they are restricted on the places they can be able to see. So parents don't even know that their children are sleeping in bedbug-infested beds, that they have triple-decker beds in the dormitory, contrary to the policies, that they have beds on the corridors, like we were seeing in the recent unfortunate case. Parents need to be allowed access to their children even when they're in school, so that the parents and the teachers can together be able to decipher if children have a problem. Whenever there's a problem, we have cases where young people go to school and form caucuses, and some of those caucuses become destructive. It would be good that the teachers identify, they call the parents of the concerned children, and when it is necessary, separate those children. I had my own experience in high school where we had a group of 7 boys who were terrorizing everyone in the school. They were very bad. They attempted to burn our school twice. And what eventually was done, there was expulsion of 6 of them, except one whose mother was a member of the board of governors then. And the others were expelled. And that one who remained became the humblest fellow you would ever imagine.
Group mentality.
Because he was separated from the herd. Am I recommending expulsion of children? No. Parents should be called, advised that these children need to be separated because they have formed a caucus that is harmful to them and dangerous to the school, and letters issued to transfer each one of them to a separate school. Some of them will end up being very different people when they are removed from the caucus.
We wouldn't be transferring a problem to a different institution.
I don't think so, because I am going by what I saw in my own school. These were just a herd, and once everyone was isolated, they became independent people. And some of them actually became prominent people in this Kenya.
Okay, and in 10 seconds, there are those who are proposing caning should make a comeback to some of these institutions. The discipline has been transferred to teachers and parents are washing their hands clean. Does that make sense?
That is the silliest argument I've ever had, and it has kept coming and coming. Yeah. When Changuli happened, caning was not illegal. When St. Kizito happened, caning was not illegal.
Okay.
So when people attribute the unfortunate incidents we see to absence of caning, I think they're either, I don't want to call them, I don't want to call them stupid, but that's what I'm thinking.
Okay.
Because we must move on to new mechanisms of disciplining. And discipline means teaching, it's not kicking.
Okay, as we finalize, we're pressed of time because as a society, we're guilty at times of moving on too fast onto the next major story after the dust settles. Once this ongoing safety audit is completed, how do we ensure we don't drop the ball again? Because this isn't the first audit to be occasioned by the Ministry of Education. Because the problem at times isn't necessarily policy, but the implementation.
My recommendation is that we don't even get into this so-called audit. It's not going to be useful. Let us audit the fires that we have had, because each fire has a separate cause. It's independent. Let us not try to come up with a generic report that then makes generic recommendations. They have never solved our problem. Audit each one of the fires. Let us see where there was a fire because there was mismanagement. Let us make sure that the person who mismanaged the school pays for it. Let us find the fire that was caused by a small clique of indisciplined children. Let us make sure that they pay for it and it is made known that they are paying for it. Let us find the fire where there was incitement from the community or the local politician and make sure they pay for it. Let us find the fire where there is people in the school trying to undermine the leadership of the principal and make sure that they pay. If we treated each case as it should be treated and everyone made to be responsible, this would deter these fires. But otherwise, we come up with generic recommendations. Those generic recommendations would never take us anywhere.
And I was hosting someone just last week who mentioned that the recommendations in previous school fires are similar to the recommendations
that will be made when this task force has completed.
Yeah, so it's more like copy and paste. Unfortunate. So we should treat it with the urgency it deserves. Each instance might be unique due to various factors. Okay, thank you so much. We were joined by Dr. Emmanuel Manyasa. He's Executive Director of Usawa Agenda and Education Stakeholder, just picking his brain on the latest wave of school unrest and how best to tackle that issue. We take a short break right now on KTN Prime. We'll be back with much more in terms of news making headlines. Stay with us.